Hey everybody, this is George, and we're waiting for Frazier to come in. But this is Real Talk with George and Frazier at a special time tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Really excited about tonight because we have a yoga master, Dr. Bev, who is going to be on the show and really talking about men's health, talking about um, exercises that we can do and that anybody can do really for pain management. So I'm super excited to have him on the show today. This is my wheelhouse. As you all know, I do have a book not only on exercise and resistance training, but I also have a book on supplementation as well too. So I'm definitely interested in speaking to Dr. Bev and basically getting his take on spiritual healing, natural healing, um, non-traditional and traditional methods of healing the body that do not deal, with heavy pharmaceuticals and things of that nature. So I'm definitely interested in that. But like I said, we're just waiting for him to come on now. And Frage will be with us in a minute. I just spoke to him. It's Friday, so these things actually do happen. Um, Send your questions and comments, anything in that you want to ask Dr. Bev. We will definitely um, get that question to him. Um, Other than that, let us know how you're doing in the comments about the show. Let us know what you've learned so far in our episodes that we've been doing. Um, Relatively topics from music to sports to journalism to authorship and everything else far and in between. You help us make our show better by um, participating. So I look forward to that. And as we're waiting for Phrase to come in, also let us know what you thought about politics and the presidential debate. Have you voted already? Um, you know, what voting method did you prefer? Mail-in ballot, or you're going to go stand in line, in 2 weeks? No, not really 2 weeks now. I think you only have like 12 days. Either way, you know, it's definitely a process that we have to be involved with, and not just presidential elections, but even your local elections, school board, town executives, town administrators, town law enforcement. Don't take your vote for granted. Make sure you participate in the conversation because that conversation affects you as a single individual, as a parent of children. It affects you, not just locally, regionally, nationally, So always have your voice. So that's my little spiel with that. As we move on, um, let us know also too what other shows, you want us to do, type of guests that you want us to have on. I know that we're quote unquote type of a variety show, but your input also helps us become a better show and a better platform for people that we can have on and the type of guests that we want to have on to bring to you. So definitely looking forward to that as we're waiting for Fraser to come on. I also wanted to talk to you all about COVID in my area right now. Uh, we're starting to see a spike. So I really want you all to really take this seriously and listen to the professionals and the experts. Protect yourself and your family. This is my plea to you. Do it smart. Okay, a mask is not just saving your life, your mask is also saving your loved ones because the masks that we have, surgical masks, are one way protection, which means when I cough into a mask, it limits the exposure of me exposing somebody else through the air. Really, that's the whole important part of masks. The N95 masks, where you have two-way protection, are far and in between. But simple surgical masks can help protect you from exposing your family member. Now, how does that work? If your family member now also has a mask, then they're helping protect you. You see, so everybody that's wearing a mask is covering what's being put out in the air. So just keep that in mind. Please take it seriously. This is a real thing. People are getting sick. People are asymptomatic. People are recovering. But this is the most important thing I want everybody to take away from this conversation that I'm having with you right now. People are dying. Okay. There are people that are actually dying from COVID 19. And if you know a loved one, or somebody who was sick, or family friend who lost a loved one, it's a very serious issue for them. Nobody expected to lose their loved one in 2020 to a disease like this. So, this is my plea to you, my heartfelt plea, as we're seeing spikes in our area and other areas around the country. Please take it seriously. Help yourself and help somebody by just wearing a mask. Good. So, I've gotten that out the way. So, while we're waiting for Dr. Bev to come on, again, please send in your questions. Anything that you would have about um, medicinal healing, pain management and relief, yoga therapy, physical therapy, um, natural medicines that you can take, and medications, um, speaking to an expert. And while we wait, um, any other questions that you may have about the show, we would definitely appreciate it. Let us know what you thought about last night's show, too. We had Nine Some on, a very young, positive man, recording artist, doing it his way and also making a difference, giving back to his community. So that was very positive to see. You know, very rarely do we see people give back in such manners. But as I pointed out yesterday, it's the way that you give back, and it's the part of being seen that makes it important because kids are, like I said, very impressionable. So that's always a good thing too when it comes to using your platform. You know, if you remember, we had Sen Carter on, and she was also an influencer too in our last show last week, and she expressed how she was using her platform to help boost people out of depression, whether you were dealing with something physically in your body or you were dealing with excess weight. That can also cause emotional stress and distress in a person to the levels of depression. So she's using her platform as well to help be an inspiration to those people that are suffering with some of the same issues that she suffered with. So she was definitely somebody that you want to check out too. And you can go to our Facebook Live page to see um, the last show that we did with Sid Carter. So that's where I am right now. Still rambling on while we're waiting for Frage to come on. He should be on shortly. I was checking my phone. Um, Past that, moving on to some sports news. We have a UFC event coming with Habib and also I forgot this young kid's name, but um, should be a very good main event. His name, I just had it on the tip of Justin Gaethje. Yes, just had it on the tip of my tongue. Very good event. Two dynamic fighters. One actually is a ground and pound specialist, as everybody knows, but one is a guy that just likes to go out and bang. And Justin takes a lot of punishment to give a lot of punishment. Very durable kid. So it's going to be interesting to see this main event as it happens this weekend. So definitely look forward to that and everything else that's going to be happening this weekend, Saturday. So it should definitely be a good event. And as Frage comes in, hey Frage, how you doing?
Hey, hey, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. I've been rambling now for the last 9 minutes.
And I missed
You missed that. You got to catch it on the rerun.
that. Oh man, long day, long day, long day.
Yeah, definitely. I was just explaining to the fans that we were excited to have Dr. Bev on, talking about pain management and exercises and things that we can do to help our bodies naturally. And you know,
Yes.
spiritually as well too, what we can do. So we're definitely looking forward to having him. Definitely looking forward to having him on the show.
Oh yes, he should be coming on in a few minutes. Matter of fact, um, so he should be on in a few minutes.
All right.
But
So what's going on in your world?
nothing much, nothing much here. Just they mostly, I think talk about most of the election right now. That's the topic of the evening right now. So that's the big thing they have going on down here besides sports. So Dolphins controversy, starting quarterback issues. So no, that go. The funny part.
Okay. So explain to me the fun part.
Well,
What is your vibe on the politics that's going down there in Florida?
well, my thing is the voting policy here is kind of weird because most everybody doing like the home ballots. That's the big thing down here now with the home ballots. So everybody mostly doing the home ballots. Um, Very few people are going to the polls, looking forward to going to the polls. So I'm really intrigued on see how many people actually going to show up at the polls because everybody did everything mail. What's the point of mailing them in? 'Cause, I mean, I'm thinking about, I don't know, I'm debating on should I go in. You know, you already voted already, so I'm still undecided who I'm going for right now.
Well, like I said, my issue was they put my polling place all the way across town. So on voting day, I have a choice to get up 2 hours early to go to a polling place and stay in line, or to vote early by mail and just send it to them and make sure that they get it. Because, New Jersey's a little bit different where some districts they're not making it difficult to vote. But the easiest thing for us is to mail in and vote as opposed to staying in line. Because if you have, in my estimation, if you have the numbers of people that are going to be voting and that want to vote and that are
Yeah,
enthusiastic about voting, no matter who you are voting for, you know, where I am, that's going to be about a 5 or 6 hour process. So just imagine waiting in line 5 or 6 hours to vote, you know. And I know that a lot of people say that you can take your mail-in ballot and take it to the voting place and drop it off there, but
mhm,
there's still even a line for that. So why would I waste my time, hours and hours
exactly.
and hours to do that when I can just go put it in the mail, send it off to the county. I know the county will have it. So we sent ours this week. So our county should have ours by next week, and then the following weekend is the vote. The following Tuesday is the vote. So we should have our ballot should be there long enough time where we don't have to spend hours and hours uh, worried about voting and the voting process.
Exactly. I'm trying to see now. Hold on once. He's trying to get. He says he's in. You see him?
Not yet. He's not on the dashboard yet.
No, no, you know.
So
Exactly. But I don't know. My thing is here. I think it could be an issue with the fact that we do have a lot of Trump voters down here. They may also have a lot of non-Trump voters down here. So that's the thing I'm looking at right now. And a lot of people, after the debate yesterday, is some people have some little mixed emotions about both candidates, really.
I
So,
I wasn't right. I didn't watch debate because I had already voted. And for me, I'm not just looking at the candidates and what they're proposing to do. I'm looking at what has happened over the last 3.5 years. That's what I'm looking at.
exactly.
That's what I'm basing my decision on.
Exactly.
And I know that we can't go another 4 years the way that we did another 3.5 years. We just can't,
Yes,
you
that's true.
know.
That is true.
And regardless of my opinion, whether you agree with it or not, that's how I personally feel. I mean, we just can't do it.
I
Just
know.
imagine waking up every day to something new, something shocking. I mean, we've been in this shock culture since he became elected president. And
Exactly.
every time, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but every time we thought it got worse, there was something else that was done that made it worse. That I mean, and it just got to the point like it was a bottomless pit for me. How low can you go? How
Exactly.
many days are we going to be waking up to something new that you've done that's just an all-time low? And it's almost like living. Um, in a psych ward. You know what I mean? Where you have to just sit there every day and try to figure out, holy smokes, what's the patient's going to do today, or how miserable is it going to be today? You know,
Exactly.
and nobody wants to live in that type of environment. You know, so I think we need to change. I think we need a breath of fresh air, and that's how I casted my vote.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Hey, how's it going, brother?
How are
Peace.
you?
Can you guys hear me okay? Has the
Yes, sir. We
clarity?
can hear you.
Exactly.
Ready? Okay.
Okay. Let me just try to. This camera's all on. Way
All right.
further back a second ago.
All right. We'll give you
Uh,
we'll give you 1 minute. Hold on. So anyway, Fraser, like I was saying, that's my process. But ladies and gentlemen, he's here. We just let him adjust his camera, just coming in. Um, so once that happens, we should be good to go. We'll take him
That's
off
special
mute.
effects.
So it's definitely good. All right,
Definitely.
move your camera over a little bit. Beautiful. All right.
There we go.
how's everybody? How's everybody?
Everybody's good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm out here in New York. You guys in Florida?
Well, I'm in Florida.
Fraser's in
Okay.
Florida. I'm in New Jersey, and you're in New York.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Peace. All right. So, yeah, just let me have it, guys. I'm just like, tell me what you want me to talk about, or just kind of I
Well,
can
let me ask
clarify on
you.
anything, or give an introduction, or.
Absolutely. Let's do an introduction first. I want you to please, please, please pronounce your name properly for the fans.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Peace, everybody. Psusennes here. Yeah. So, it's yeah, it's Psusennes, how like it's spelled on the bottom.
Psusennes.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
Psusennes, please share with the fans. I mean, I've probably been butchering it. I've called you a doctor of yoga and everything
Yeah.
else. So please give the fans a proper
So,
introduction.
so to kind of give a precursor, I'm a Moor myself, right? But so we study a lot of law, right? And especially for me, before I started going by this term a while ago, I was like, oh man, you gotta be a doctor for this, and then I started finding out about before World War II, there used to be a lot of different holistic practitioners, and there were not very many institutions. So like to be calling yourself a doctor around that time period just meant you were specialists.
Right.
And so I am a specialist in what I do, and I go by the legal term of Doctor of Yoga Therapy, outside of the actual PhD doctorates in which we're referencing to now. So I've been practicing for about 12 years. Well, I mean, kind of going on 13, going on 14, but my original principle and premise has always been I like to show proof for anything that I try to apply as a form of medication, you know? So if I don't really have anything to back it up, or if I haven't tested on myself or seen it work with the client in some type of beta process, in like letting them know like this is also a possibility for something, I usually don't try to push that on anybody. I'm very anti-medication unless it's extremely necessary. It's very like on the very, very low percentile do I acknowledge surgery, because a lot of people are getting surgery and they don't even need it. Like the human body is this wonderful machine, and then the whole aspect of the body is a temple. Like literally, as soon as we put the actual acknowledgement that we have the ability to heal and acknowledge what we want our body to do, then our body will fire off, and do that. And we don't have to be 18 years old in order and like in our tip top shape, quote, before we can actually step into that realm. So the whole Doctor of Yoga Therapy, I've been through I've studied a lot of different principles. I was going to be a naturopathic doctor and an osteopathic doctor. And then I started to see that even those people, and then like let's just kind of be real, like people of the more well off financial background and tax bracket, I figure like, oh man, these people, they got that, and they probably already have it. So I was thinking, I was working corporate, and I was thinking I'm going to save the money for it. And then I was realizing that like in New York, they've been the naturopathic doctors have been fighting for like the last like 10, 15 years, probably even longer than that. there's something called the NYAP, New York, I'm a NYNAP, I think, New York, like, Naturopath Association, and they have been fighting to even get naturopathic medicine acknowledged by the insurance companies here. So, and then I started to find out about this, like, it's all just a game of business, when it comes to who and what would be will be accepted as far as practitioners when it comes to your insurance money. And you feel like as the average citizen, like, if I'm paying insurance, I should be able to apply it to something. But that's where the gray area really starts, and a lot of people can't even go see their regular practitioners at the rate that they want to, with the amount of money that they're shelling out for their insurance. So there's just this, like, big wall. I used to work in tech for 10 years, and when I first started in full time, when I was in my early 20s, I was working at a hospital. It was a for-profit hospital. And, like, luckily, like, I didn't have much deep experience with medical, with insurance. But then it was around there that I saw about how there's this, like, really big barricade that exists, that big pharma, and then a lot of the big, the medical boards, they kind of like have kind of an in on whether policy gets pushed into certain arenas and areas. And I was getting, because luckily I was at the hospital, so I got kind of a break. So I was getting full coverage insurance, and I had like a minor head laceration from a biking accident. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get fixed up. So then they needed a staple, and then this is like actually right before I left Texas to come to New York, maybe about, like, little shy under a year. But then I remember I remember all the stories about, like, of hearing in the hospitals, like, make sure you come to the hospital. And I'm like, okay, like, because if you go somewhere else, they might charge you different, and this and that. I'm like, all right, let me go. And then I was like, yeah, can you take me to my hospital? And my head's bleeding. They're like, oh no, like, they're not a trauma specialist. You have head trauma, so we're gonna take you here. So they took me there, and then they took me back to my hospital when I wouldn't let them do MRIs and stuff on me. And I remember looking at the bill just for being in my hospital, not even from the other one. It was like $15,000. I had no IVs, no medication, I literally sat in the bed for like less than 24 hours. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you're going to send me out? Like, you didn't even do anything. So when it comes to a lot of what is known as the medical field, or the healthcare system, even when it's down to the standard of free healthcare, that was one of the main determining factors that made me even start to pursue this path, and really step into it in a sense of confidence, because like anybody else, if someone's spending money with you, they want to trust that, like, you're all in, just like any other physician or any other practitioner. And the thing that makes one person's credibility over another is just the system backing them. So there's plenty of people with just as much experience as a medical doctor who can probably get you double the results, and then maybe they're just going to prescribe you some nutritional supplements or this or that. And they probably studied the same amount of time, but they won't be able to even collect the amount of money. So they have to bite the bullet and either become what happens a lot of the times is a lot of these naturopaths will go to school for like the 4 or 5 years that it takes to become a naturopathic doctor, come out, and then they'll start acupuncture school right after that, just so they can start to charge people money in the state, because New York won't let them charge for insurance and or even practice without being a naturopath. I mean, without actually having an acupuncturist license. So it's a doozy. It's kind of heavily connected to why I do what I do, and even why I even decided to step in this path, because before, for a long time, I was going under the terminology of a yoga therapist, and then no matter how I started to set up the dynamic of my title, I would always come into this wall of comprehension and understanding that most people thought I was just doing like physical therapy or Thai massage or something else like that. And I do body work, but then I also give people the yoga as medicine. I use the principles of yoga to be able to heal people's different injuries from my side, but I still have to have them do the homework. Otherwise, I won't be able to get the vast results that actually, are life-changing scenarios. So it's a little heady when it comes to the title of Dr. Yoga Therapy, but my main premise and why I even try to come forward and bring people this medicine is because I was able to heal myself and heal multiple other people, like my friend's grandfather, then other people, like different conditions after surgery, like post, menstrual, like the menstrual area, you know what I mean? So it could be fibroids, could be cysts, could be ovarian cancer, then like getting stuff cut out, but then like people are afraid that something's going to resurface, right? And then luckily for a lot of men, we don't end up typically getting something like testicular cancer or something like that. But as a result, we also, things will like manifest on the reverse. And so instead of manifesting in our hips, it'll manifest more inside of our in our upper respiratory system, or the prostate, or we'll start to see things like erectile dysfunction. But a lot of times it's has to do directly with the heart, and then the heart palpitations being low. We with the big variety of diets, our bodies are kind of in this flux. And my main premise and why I do what I do, we're both on the men's end and the women's end, is to get people to understand that they have the ability to heal these things naturally. And I'm just more of a psychic confidant, because a lot of the stuff is, if you really wanted to Google it and search it, you could find the information, because it's information. So none of the information is taboo. Just like for an acupuncturist, like the aspect of cupping or meridian points or whatever. But it's, if you know how to use the tools and how efficiently you can use it without guessing, just like a social media specialist or anybody else, right? So it's the age of specialists in this information age, the people who can get you results over the institutions that can get you results. So yeah. Sorry if that was a little long-winded, but like I just feel like it needs to be explained, because I actually specifically picked the term because I worked in the medical field for 4 years. Side by side, I used to be in surgery rooms, and everywhere there was tech, like I had to be there, from CEO's office to cancer patient's room, like eyes taped shut, like IV drip, the whole shebang, to a body being cut open over here. So what I realized is like, that a lot of the stuff that we live by is literally because they expect us almost to be lazy here in America. They think that we won't change our diet and we're stuck in our habits, and to try to take responsibility for something that is beyond their scope is the last thing that they want to do. They can try to refer you to somebody, but then it becomes a whole system that is not, that it doesn't exist for them. Right. So yeah, so for me, I'm all about bringing harmony back to this stuff, and I don't condemn any of the sciences and technologies that have been developed, like stents or anything else like that, or triple bypass surgery. But I'm more than likely, we don't need the majority of the stuff if we're willing to make a change, and then that's what the Doctor of Yoga Therapy title. I'm there to psychologically throw that stuff in flux and kind of bring an old school medicine kind of philosophy back. It's not really truly old school. It's just only as old as the United States considers it, because a lot of these medicines still exist in Europe and then in Asia and, India. So, yeah.
Well, to follow up,
yeah, sorry.
I wrote a book about supplements.
Oh, nice.
And the name of my book was The Only Supplement You Need to Truly Hit Your Health and Fitness Goals. And this is my book right here. I definitely wanted to have you on to be able to talk about that, because I believe a lot of the same things too. I don't believe in pharmaceutical medicines as the first step. I even said in my book, if you really want to cure your headache, you should probably try some white willow bark as opposed to using a synthetic aspirin. Okay, but that's
And
either.
a lot of the typical pharmaceuticals have a lot of those nutritional. I mean, those herbs broken down in them, anyways.
Yes, your body can always process something that's more organic than synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely believe in that because it's worked for me and my body and what I've been doing, not only just to the lifelong martial artist, but health and fitness personnel expert in everything that I do. Um, the biggest question and issue that I see, because it's interesting, we're talking about healthcare, and
Mm-hmm.
healthcare now is a political buzzword because of politics. Okay. But
And
uh,
economics,
and economics.
or capitalism, right? So.
My issue is I understand that there needs to be some type of checks and balance type of system when it comes to healthcare. So people aren't just taking everything under the sun and snake oil. But the information, it seems like for me, and in my research, and this is why I'm saying it on just on my behalf,
Mm-hmm.
research that I've done, it seems like there's a lot of things that can help the body heal itself naturally that are available, but we don't have access to it because the moment that that information is put out there, you have somebody from a medical board, you have somebody from writing a journal in Harvard medical whatever review saying, oh, well, there's not enough studies or this, that, and the third, or we haven't done this or we haven't done that. For instance, I just like to share this story about red yeast rice,
Mm-hmm.
which is used to help blood pressure. It's helped to reduce cholesterol. It's helped to reduce a lot of different things. This was a natural occurring substance in China, right?
Mm.
And the Lipitor
You
that
said
they
red yeast rice.
yes, red yeast
Mm.
rice,
Mm.
red rice yeast is it? I
Mm.
keep getting it mixed up,
No,
but
that's okay. Yeah.
it how they get the formula. They got the
Mm.
formula from the Chinese, and then that's the base compound that they use for Lipitor that they sell from pharmaceutical companies. You know,
Mm.
but if you don't know that, you won't, you wouldn't know that you have an option. And so what the pharmaceutical companies did was because they then turned around and patented it,
Mm-hmm.
everybody supplement company, they can't sell it as something to help lower your cholesterol naturally. You see what I mean? You can
Ah.
only sell it as heart health to
Exactly.
stay clear of everything. And that's where the economics come into it. And it just hurts my heart that people don't understand that sometimes the way is right in front of you. You just have to do a little bit of work and do a little bit of understanding.
Exactly.
And so when it comes, because the funny thing that I ran into, right, is because this is where the gray area really starts to really take precedent, right? Every like there's lawful, there's legal, and then there's lawful, right? Lawful meaning the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, right? Which is the law of the land. And then that supersedes anything that comes after, right? And there's been a ton of different things. I don't want to go into the deeper parts of like citizenship and a lot of other things that are underneath that, but that when it comes to legal stuff, a lot of things that are set into place actually are break the Constitution in that they almost like the Constitution doesn't permanently create a way of not allowing a monopoly to build itself, but there's ways to like basically tie monopolies to something, and then thus you can like find a loophole, right? But a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of the lawyers who do know that, they work for the big companies and they get scooped up quick to make sure that there's no one to really defend that thing. Like when Monsanto was coming and doing their havoc, right? And they were kind of just spreading their GMOs all over, and then they were making a lot of the farmers go bankrupt or having to sell out and all this other stuff. And because like that's where the whole law thing started to come into. So they were doing something similar to where they were saying, oh well, you can only use our seeds because you purchased one bag of our seeds and it's probably spread all over the place, and you have this and you have that. And or they would buy an additional lot right next to it, and then their seeds would get on their lot, and they say, oh where you're stealing our seeds. It was like just little petty stuff like that, and that the farmers didn't know how to protect themselves against. So thus, as a result, they were kind of caught in between the catch-22, right? So that even to do with this Lipitor aspect, there's ways to get around it, but you would have to really understand what your constitutional rights are. And a lot of times we think because one thing was passed, that because that law was passed, that law wasn't unconstitutional for it to be passed in the first place. But it's just basically directly tied to lobbying. So because of lobbying, it was able to be put in place and say it's a new law. You know what I mean? Or it's a state law for this particular county or something like that. So yeah, a lot of the big pharmaceutical companies and the people who patent a lot of these natural supplements and keep people or make people push people into corners, and the people who know a little bit, they'll try to just rename the product as something and then come up with like I guess you could call it like a legal buzzword.
Right.
That's almost the identical method that a lot of the big toxic corporations that like produce Kool-Aid or any of the other stuff, they're like red dye number 45, but it's actually just a crunched up of like, a whole bunch of ingredients that you don't want to know about. But that is what makes Kool-Aid, right? Or makes Coca-Cola or something like that. So yeah, I think you're making a really good point, because like if you don't know that it exists, it's not out there in the open market, or you have to go to some kind of like research article, even like read about it and find it, and the local news won't even say anything about it. That's where a lot of the rubber meets the road on as far as like blocking the people from the needed resource of like knowing that something is out there to like resolve those problems.
Exactly.
Just to follow up real quick, Felice,
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
What other ailments have you been able to help heal naturally?
Oh man. So I was
the short.
yeah. I'm just worried not to say because before I created a documentary, right? A documentary is in my biome. I'm still like, I had to rephrase that, but like I put it out like 2 years ago. But I basically, before I found out about Dr. Sabi, it was Arnold Ethret, and then before Arnold Ethret is Max Gerson. But these people are all pretty much all old school babies from the 1900s who had all these breakthroughs with curing cancer, doing everything. But everything that they said was always like, there's only one disease. Everybody said the same thing. So everything that we think is disease, every condition is something that's just identified as an isolated part of the body that has poor circulation. And upon that poor circulation, there's organs or another part in there, like it could be your tendons, your arteries, your veins, etc., that has some kind of excess toxicity built up into there. And because there's like so poor blood flow and your body can't feed itself and heal the cells in that area, then you get leukemia or like some kind of stomach. I mean, you're prone to getting constant stomach viruses from whenever you eat some type of foreign food or whatever. Because the body needs to be almost like, it's like an engine, and that's actually what something that Arnold Ethret said. But he was basically saying that this big engine is a big steam engine inside of us.
Right.
Yeah. So I use that principle a lot. But when I found that principle out, I understood why I was able to cure my childhood asthma I was born with, right? I haven't had an asthma attack in like maybe 18 years or something like that. But I used to have to go to the hospital for it when I was in school. And that I only got through it through natural means of like running, right? I had arthritis for 2.5 years. Actually, after I did my first yoga training, which actually expedited my circulation, but it also expedited all the poor health choices that I was having. So it just like went widespread, rampant. And then so for 2.5 years, I was doing body therapy every now and then, while in between working corporate, and I would have my hands like tense up like after 20 minutes into a 90-minute like session. So I was really adamant of trying to figure out health. So when I went beyond that, during my second training, I got rid of my arthritis. I got rid of 2 knee injuries and a palm injury. And I've helped a friend heal his grandfather's or being a facilitator really for his grandfather's. It was more of like I wouldn't say he had dementia, but he was 89. He had just had 2 strokes, and he had a curve in his back. We were able to straighten out the curve in about 3 months, just by having him on a vegan diet and then doing therapy twice a week. Um, and some minor balding that he had went away because we had just basically he was coursing his body was just on an autopilot. So like when you're at an older age, as we get older, our body just gets more honest. So if you're giving yourself the amount of nutrients and you're able to go through a big detox, your body will just fire off into into the distance. So I just okay. So one reference I would make to anybody who's watching or going to see this in the future, whatever, is the Merck manual. I think I have it over here. Yeah, I actually do. So this book, right, is the exact same thing. That it's like there's something called Black's Law Dictionary, right? So Black's Law Dictionary is the lawyer's version of the Merck manual, right? So anytime there is a prognosis or any kind of representation of any type of thing, you have like something like right now I'm looking up tooth disorders, right? I don't even know if I see it. Okay. All over the place, but like even with this, like they because the majority of what we refer to in all these different conditions are Latin based. They're literally building the word to just say, oh, blockage here, and it has this description of this, and it has these habits, and then so you have osteoporosis, or you have whatever fibromyalgia, or what is there's a series of other different symptoms, but with these when they're building out the name of these symptoms, they're just telling you what's blocked, literally. If you understood what they're actually saying, but they're just going to kind of keep you in the loop because it's not that most of the times that people in Western medicine want to be divisive or just kind of hold it away from you, but they just don't expect you to understand 8 years of information that they were able to do. This just helps them break it down, all the other stuff that they remember. So anytime you're getting a diagnosis, you can literally look it up in the Merck manual and they can basically tell you what's happening. But they're saying blockage here with these features, blockage here with these features. And it's it started to really get to me when I found out that cancer can spread. And I was like, why, how come something so malignant or so they can decimate the body so much? How come it can spread from the heart all the way down to the pancreas, or from the heart all the way down to the prostate? It's because the blood is what delivers it. And once one thing starts to fail, then it starts to pull nutrients and or activity, I guess, or a responsibility, something else pulls the weight for you. And then your body is always doing this because it wants to maintain homeostasis. And homeostasis is the thing that allows you to be able to balance out your pH level, which is goes along with some of Dr. Sebi's stuff. But what Dr. Sebi's thing talks about with balancing out the alkalinity in your body, he means to bring alkalinity back to the organs that have the acidity buildup.
Exactly.
And the more that you can push that harmony throughout the body, then you can cure most of the diseases that you think that you're going through. Yeah. So yeah, sorry to go into the whole thing, but I just feel because I want to empower people when they think about it, because we're afraid of everything. Why wouldn't you be afraid? It's like going to the military and then they start giving a whole bunch of guns. You're I don't know. Protect yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I did write it down, so I will check out the Merck manual as well too.
Yeah.
I didn't see that when I was writing my book, but I know that my aunt is a herbologist, and she's been that her whole life. So at a younger age, I understood things because she was also has Native American in her lineage. Okay. So I always knew that. I was always a person that really didn't run into a lot of pharmaceuticals. Like I said, I always believed that there were things that could heal the body naturally, because the body always responds better to something organic than synthetic, like I said before. You know?
And then also getting access to those herbs, like seeing it, it does a different thing for you. Then versus like looking at some labels in the book, it's like, yeah, if you know what it looks like, it makes you feel a little bit more empowered.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fraser.
Well, oh, me being an athlete now, I was saying that what you were saying about the natural herbs and stuff, they don't teach us in athlete. You training, the personal trainer, they don't give you medicine. They give you steroids. And I like to bring us to the point that look at Barry Bonds, right? They gave him conventional medicine, right? They gave him steroid to heal injuries he had previously endured years before, right? And the same medicine that healed him, they actually banned it from sports. So when he take the test for it, he failed the test. And the same medicine they gave Kaseko, A-Rod, they gave all these, the same doctor gave us the same conventional medicine to them. But because it was helping, it was healing, they didn't want more pharmaceuticals to get in more into it, the shots, the cortisone shots, all these shots to get the athletes back on their feet a lot quicker, but cause it long-term damage. Afterwards. You know, and my thing is, what would you say to if you were talking to an athlete and he has a lot of joint issues, he has a lot of inflammation in the joints, arthritis has become very common to athletes, young athletes, after certain injuries hits. Like, what would you prescribe for that? What kind of spiritual is it? Spiritual, like healing, or would you fetch yoga more influence into their daily workout?
I think he can definitely say something about herbs, because I know herbs will do so much for you if you are well hydrated. But which is a big thing, because we think that just because there's some kind of like herbal tincture or herbal tea that is different from nutritional supplement, but it's the exact same thing in just a different form. But either way, it's not in its raw form, so you're probably going to use up a lot of water from your body to even be able to activate that nutrients before it gets out of your system, right?
Right.
But everything goes back to circulation. And the biggest part of circulation, especially for an athlete, is he's caught in between old and young simultaneously inside the body, right? When I'm saying that, meaning like if your muscles are tight, especially as a male, like tight calf muscles, it's like horrible thing for like athletes who haven't been practicing very consistently since they were a kid, like tight hamstrings, right? Your quads, and especially for most males, just around the growing. The growing, the hamstrings are going to almost like work simultaneously, because it's going to be in range with the glutes. And the closer as a male that you are to be able to do a lot of these deep growing stretches and all that. And I would say like pigeon pose, the splits. Full pigeon pose. A lot of times people baby the pigeon pose. It kind of is a way to kind of just muscularly like lean into it. But splits pose, frog pose, which is like, you're like basically your body's like this, right? So your legs are right here and your groin is right here. So it's like it was a really intense pose. But like just as a male working towards that mastery of making sure your legs and your body are loose, you would start to change so much, because the reason why we get arthritis is because of poor circulation at the core. So when you go back to the core and you start opening up those areas, and simultaneously going with these like lists of herbs that actually help with circulation, then the organs that the herbs target can actually get to where they need to get, and you start to be able to get faster. Because what a lot of people will do is they'll just take herbs and not do anything else for the rest of their lives. It helps a little bit, like, well, you stretch. Your body's like a rod, like we expect. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So
to add upon that, stretching. Stretching will loosen up the muscles. Instead of making them tight, they'll make them pliable, and then you'll be able to get nutrients in there, like blood nutrients and things of that nature, to help with a lot of the inflammation. I do know that from recuperation therapy and things like that, when working out, flushing lactic acid to make sure that you're not sore, but also getting new nutrients to the area so it can heal and you can recoup faster. We have a question really quick, if you don't mind.
Oh
Do you
yeah, I
believe,
don't see any of the questions.
I do, I have it right here. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Do you believe type 2 diabetes can be reversed,
Yes.
excuse me? If so, what steps do you need to take?
Oh wait, do you want my you want to go at it first? So I don't want to keep
No,
firing off.
that's your question.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for okay, there is only one disease: HIV, flesh-eating virus, the bubonic plague. Like all these different things are because your organs stop functioning, and when one stops, the other one has to compensate. You have to bring your body back into harmony. The biggest thing that would help you, in my opinion, if you started to do intermittent fasting and cutting out all your sugar, right? Even fruits, like limiting your fruits to only watery fruits with like a lower sugar level, like melons. I mean, it depends on what you're willing to do, honestly, because this is why, like, I even have been like hesitating on releasing a book or releasing courses for the longest time because I realize every person's different, and a lot of times the biggest part that makes them different is their willingness to cut out the food, because the food for most of us is not even something that nourishes us as much as something that entertains our mind and keeps us at emotional bay, keeps us like from experiencing angst and anger and like, frustration or, sexual frustration or whatever. A lot of times we just like put something in our mouth, like is it food or it's like alcohol, or it's like, or people smoking or whatever. We just keep our mind busy and we don't see how the things are nourishing us. Marijuana is nourishing if you know how to use it, just like everything else, right? You can nourish your body. You just got to like see what's going to help you. And then so particularly you have to take this concept into mind when you're trying to heal yourself. There's actually a documentary called Simply Raw. I refer a lot of people to it. In that they basically it takes about 7 or 8 people from around the country. And they bring them to Arizona to like a 4-week, I think a 4-week or 8-week retreat or something like that. And I think it's 4 weeks. And they have a physician there, and they have a nutritionist, they have another person, and they have them going through the gauntlet of just eating a whole bunch of different types of raw foods. Particularly, they're like more on the they're all vegan stuff, but they're more on the like low sugar side. So to not to like work against blood sugar, so people are able to get rid of all these different symptoms they were having, even the people who quit, right? But the emotional, as a man working on your body, you got to be prepared to experience emotion, because that's the main thing you've been holding since you were young. And if you understand that you're going to be emotional and you like going to give yourself some type of emotional outlet, could be dance, could be like, arts, could be playing ball, but you have to engage your mind at some point after to be able to release. Then you will feel like the aspect of detoxing and working towards something is a lot more manageable, because that's the main thing that we don't want to experience, is the new thing that we've probably never been taught to do, right? But there are a lot of there's actually quite a few quotes that say this, but like, disease starts in the mind, and it starts in the mind because it's the pent up emotions that we have placed into different regions of our body that start to create the muscle memory, where we start to basically go away from or go towards an excessive motion to be able to build some kind of security around us. So either you gain fat in the region or you gain excessive muscle, like almost like when guys have these super tight traps, or their whole back is like a rock, but they have very little range of motion. That's unhealthy. Just like a fat person is just on the opposite end of the spectrum. Torn rotator cuffs, like like the whole shebang. So, anyways, but type 2 diabetes, like it's that harmony. You got to realize it's a system you're working with. It's not just type 2 diabetes. Like, what are my organs doing, and are they participating? And then when you start to go towards those herbs, because herbs can help you a lot, but you're going to be going through mood swings, like, because your blood sugars are going to be dropping up and down. Your neurotoxins that you're going to be releasing when your blood sugars are dropping are going to give you a different type of feel. There's a lecture by this guy named Dr. Russell Blaylock, and he basically talks about nutrition and behavior. and he links it to this. He basically, I guess, a little lecture, but he basically links it to crime rate, kids' test scores, and even like crime rate, kids' test scores, and even I would say violent behavior in relationships, but more also he kind of ties that directly to people who've been released from jail and the diets that they followed, and then people get readmitted because they have a high sugar diet that makes their brain chemistry drop up and down. So as a person who has diabetes, you're messing with your blood sugar, so you need to understand how emotional of a journey is going to be. But if you have some support, it'll be a lot easier. You know what I mean? But it's definitely a long-term journey. But I would say you could probably get results from it in like less than a year. As far as like just 6 months, if you just went, I would say cold turkey, but transitioning towards the diet that you want, getting some support, building an ecosystem of people and an environment that you associate with, and then going towards and like walking towards trying to revamp your whole entire lifestyle, and which is essentially your immune system gut, you know. So you can say something about it, because I really feel like you could provide some type of some insight on herbs that are really good with like lowering your blood sugar levels.
Well, there's a lot of different,
Yeah, I know, it's tons.
that can lower your blood sugar level. Even something as simple as apple cider vinegar will help lowering your blood sugar level. What I like is, well, I'll ask you because you're the professional here when it comes to certain things. As far
Just
as
making
diet,
sure I'm trying to like leave leeway. When I like chatter like I know everything.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great that you get to talk to people in these fields with such expertise, you know. And nobody just wants to keep hearing me talk about it. So,
Oh yeah, right. I get you. Right.
definitely be appreciated. But for myself, I usually transitioned from a fish and fowl diet to a more meat-based diet in the summertime because of the heat, and then when it gets cold, I go back to fish and fowl. I
Mm-hmm.
speak a lot about vegan. What type of diet do you prefer? For yourself, do you fish? Do you eat fowl? Do you eat any?
I've been vegetarian since like 2011, but I I used to, okay, so I used to play football when I was like a kid, right? Like maybe like 11 to 13, and then from there I just went to dancing, like breakdancing, stuff like that, and I've stayed active since I was like 11, right? So I got used to this pattern of like impact, eat large sums, rest, and then like impact again. I mean, I've had a myriad of different stuff, like playing some sports here and doing some wrestling, doing some this, and mess around with martial arts, doing some more dancing, train. Like, and I still eat large portions. Like I eat I don't even know if you see, like maybe a bowl of salad like this big. I don't know if that's Let's see that. There's like
Right.
a huge bowl of salad. But with enzymes, they start talking to your body by the time that you, like before it even gets down your throat, the enzymes are talking to your body. So this is the kicker. Blood does the same thing. Genghis Khan used to even feed his soldiers like raw meat before they used to go on the battlefield. So it's not that the human body can't take in raw meat, but it's just like our immune system is a lot weaker than it was back then, right? So for me, I eat large portions of like raw foods because I get the most energy off of that. I can train the best off of it. My energy levels are more consistent, etc. I mean, but I do eat like, tempeh or some soy here and there if I'm out at a restaurant and I'm at some specialty place. But I usually cook at home the most of the time. And then when I'm training, I usually eat raw, right? I prefer a salad over everything. Smoothies are really good too. I mean, not that I don't eat fruits, but I'm just kind of like, I usually like, I'm usually trying to pack everything into one little thing, and I don't have time to be just sitting there all the time. I'm kind of on the go psychologically a lot of the time. However, one of the main things, because you said you were a martial arts, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how long you been training? What I was going to ask you, what style did you train
Taekwondo, Hapkido, Kutogi,
in? Mm-hmm.
Filipino stick and knife fighting. I've trained a few.
Like balita what?
Yeah.
Or like yeah.
Bali Sudo, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
a few others.
Yeah. So you've been training for a really long time.
Right.
So what do you think is the main thing that helps you? You have one, balance in your body, right? And you learn that from a really young age. So even though you might have your meat, you're always eating in a very balanced way, unconsciously, just because you know that I had too much. I gotta save some space for training. You can't train on a full stomach. I was doing the same way, right? So also your metabolism and the amount of muscle that you've been building. So you do not need protein to live, but you do need it to build muscle, right? And then, so this is the facade that we've been perpetuated. Like with all the critical thinking that could happen in the American lifestyle just doesn't exist. We don't think that we can use food for activity or for like disciplines. Like, oh, I'm getting this because, and putting this into my diet because I want this result. Like we disconnected from that.
Yeah.
So your metabolism and your metabolic rate are the things that protect you from being able to eat more acidic foods, right?
Yeah.
And athletes have that, but the majority of people don't after they turn 18 or 20 or whatever time period stops. And then so we might think, oh, so do my protein is like what we're doing. I mean, and or the amount of sugar that we eat, like in food in the form of starch, breads and crackers and like cereals of multiple different types and potatoes and, you know, with all these different things that we have in our diet, which is actually one of the biggest beacons of imbalance for most vegetarians, actually. When they find an imbalance, is they still don't know how to eat. Like we cook a lot of food and we like eat a lot of fillers. A lot of those fillers are starches because it's heavier in content, right? So yeah, the diet that I follow when I train, whenever I like, and the reason why I've been like eating this vegetarian lifestyle for the last like 9, going on 10 years is because I heal extremely fast. Like literally like one day. I can be sore from training and it goes up to max a day and a half. But it used to be for me like 4 or 5 days, right? And it's one because I had so much acidity in my body. And then I started working corporate when I was really young. So like I was always just kind of like trying to I was either overworking myself or not getting enough sleep or like training too hard or doing whatever. So it was always this kind of tidal wave. And that's when then I noticed like I was just healing like this is every time I would just make a big bowl of salad and like, you know, and when I started discarding tiny greens, like, you know, the little spring mix and all that, like little joke that exists out there, right? Like it's not at the farmer's market. Why do you think? So because they only like farmers farm something and you can see it and like, you know, so all greens that grow in nature are big. So I usually ingest really big greens. They do the most, they pack the most punch for me for getting the most stuff done. So, I don't advocate against a non-vegetarian diet. Some people are like, oh, vegetarian's going to heal the planet. And I was like, nah, it's not. Human greed ceasing is what's going to heal the planet. Because like, you know, because whenever people don't feel greed, they have a more balanced lifestyle in general, right? So, I mean, you know, that's for lack of a better description under global terms. But you get the idea.
All right. Well, listen, we have to hold it there. We're going
to
have you back, okay, for part 2 to this because we have a lot more questions.
Yeah. I didn't even know. Was that? Did I? I'm sorry for like. If I was like too late.
But yeah, we only go an hour and over the hour. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I promise for part 2.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely good. I wish I could have caught more of your hour. I missed it, but yeah, I think in long terms, but like it doesn't matter what disease that you're facing, everything has an answer out there, and then I just feel like people shouldn't just get discouraged. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, this is George.
This is Frazier.
Peace.
And this is Real Talk, and we want to thank you, Dr. Beth, for coming on.
All
Part
right.
two. We promise you. Part two is
Part two,
coming.
definitely part two.
Can I get a recording of this? If y'all can see it?
Absolutely.
I'll
Go
put
to
it on my
Facebook
Instagram
Live.
and like shout you guys out.
Absolutely. Right on
All right, man.
Facebook Live. Frazier will get you a link for it.
I'm gonna
All right, man.
Thank you,
Peace.
sir.